It's the 23rd of January 2021. Let's rewind a little. 10 months ago, New York-based Foreign Affairs magazine predicted a catastrophe for India. 4 months later, the Boston Review called India's Wuhan virus response a quote-unquote humanitarian disaster. In August 2020, the Scientific American claimed India is in denial about the COVID-19 crisis. The BBC was quick to declare that New Delhi is staring at a disaster. This headline is now 3 months old. The pandemic in India, more than 10 months old. A year and a month have passed since the first case of the Wuhan virus was reported in China. A year and 10 days since the first case was reported outside China. Look at what the BBC has to say now. The UK reports a record 1,564 daily deaths. A further 1,564 people have died in the UK within 28 days of a positive COVID test, the biggest figure reported in a single day since the pandemic began. The CNN reports that UK hospitals look like a war zone. And just so that you know, hospitals in the US are not keeping too well either. Over 24 million people have been affected in the United States so far. That's more than 25% of the global caseload. Hospitalizations are up in Hawaii, Kansas, New Jersey, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Vermont, and Maine. California is the new hotspot, and the West as a whole is all over the place. India, on the other hand, appears to have got a grip on the Wuhan virus pandemic. Cases have fallen to the lowest since June 2020. So much for the doomsday predictions. As we speak, India is also driving the world's largest vaccination program. 1.3 billion people are slated to be immunized. 1.04 million people have been vaccinated as of the 22nd of January. By July this year, India plans to vaccinate at least 300 million people. That's almost the entire population of the United States. India has trained 200,000 vaccinators, 370,000 team members, ready 29,000 cold storages, and India is not done yet. India is not just vaccinating its own, but also nursing the neighborhood back to health. India's vaccine diplomacy is what we will focus on this episode of Gravitas Plus. Hello and welcome. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. As we speak, Indian vaccines have reached these countries. India gifted 150,000 doses of Wuhan virus vaccines to Bhutan. The consignment landed on the 20th of January. 100,000 doses of the Covishield were gifted to the Maldives. 1 million doses of the vaccine were gifted to Nepal on the 21st of this month. On the same day, an Air India flight carrying 2 million doses of Covishield also landed in Bangladesh. On the 22nd of January, Indian vaccines reached Myanmar, Seychelles, Mauritius, Brazil and Morocco. Myanmar received 1.5 million doses, Seychelles 50,000. All of these were free of cost. Sri Lanka and Afghanistan are next on the list. India is looking to donate around 10 million doses of vaccines. The jabs will cover healthcare providers, frontline workers and the most vulnerable people in these countries. This is India's hashtag, Vaccine Maitri. Now just take a moment and think about this. The world's so-called developed nations are focused on their own problems, overwhelmed by the pandemic, while India is nursing other countries back to health. Even in times of a deadly pandemic, India is looking at her neighborhood first and healing the region with the highest population density. The demand for India's vaccines, however, goes beyond SAARC and beyond the subcontinent. Brazil and Morocco have just received their shipments under commercial agreements. Brazil bought 2 million doses of Indian vaccines, as did Morocco. The UK and Belgium have shown interest in buying vaccines from India. Dominica has sent an SOS letter to the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit wrote, "I request with great humility and respect that you assist us by donating the doses we need to make our population safe, optimally 70,000 first and second doses." Other developing nations like South Africa, Kenya and Nigeria are looking forward to Indian vaccines, as are many West Asian countries, including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Why is the world interested in Indian vaccines? A, they're cost effective, and B, they're safe. The Moderna vaccine, for example, is expected to cost around $30, Sputnik V around $10. Now compare this to Covishield from India, approximately $6. Did you know India is home to the largest number of US FDA-approved vaccine manufacturing plants? Indian firms have a reputation for top-notch standards. if you watch WION, you would know this by now. India is known as the world's pharmacy. Vaccine developers from around the world have been tying up with Indian plants since the beginning of the pandemic. These are some of India's renowned vaccine manufacturers. India's pharma sector caters to 50% of the global vaccine demand, 40% of the generic demand in the United States, and 25% of all medicines in the UK. Indian drugs are exported to more than 170 countries globally. India is also home to the world's largest vaccine manufacturer, the Serum Institute of India. It produces 1.5 billion doses of vaccines every year. The UK's GlaxoSmithKline, in comparison, manufactures 0.69 billion doses. Sanofi from France manufactures 1 billion doses. America's Merck and Johnson & Johnson produce less than 0.2 billion doses every year. The Serum Institute of India is currently manufacturing the Oxford-AstraZeneca Covishield vaccine. It will also supply 200 million doses of vaccines to the COVAX Alliance to distribute vaccines to poorer countries. India is ensuring equitable distribution of vaccines. As India's Prime Minister said, India is ready to save humanity with 2 made-in-India vaccines. India's vaccine diplomacy, on the other hand, will generate goodwill with the world. Bill Gates recently posted this. It's great to see India's leadership in scientific innovation and vaccine manufacturing capability as the world works to end the COVID-19 pandemic. Even WHO Chief Dr. Tedros heaped praise on India. Let me quote, "India continues to take decisive action and demonstrate its resolve to end COVID-19 pandemic as the world's largest vaccine producer. It's well placed to do so." It looks like the praise did not go down too well with China. One day after Dr. Tedros' testimony, China's mouthpiece, the Global Times, published this article. Don't go by the headline, read the text below. India hopes to counter the international influence of Chinese vaccines, even if China has always set its own pace and has no intention of competing. You see, China has a limitless checkbook. India has a robust infrastructure for vaccine manufacturing. While China tries to buy support, India is enhancing its global influence by extending support. China wreaked havoc in Nepal. India is healing Nepal. China debt-trapped Sri Lanka. India is trying to free Colombo from the clutches of the pandemic. China lied to Bangladesh about 110,000 doses of free vaccines. India sent 2 million doses of vaccine to Dhaka for free and without any clauses attached. China haunted the Maldives with repayment notices in the middle of the pandemic. India, on the other hand, is helping the country kickstart its tourism-driven economy by vaccinating the population. It is the first country to offer free vaccines to multiple nations. China had promised free vaccines to Myanmar, Cambodia and the Philippines. Last we checked, it remains just a promise. The truth is, the world is turning away from Chinese vaccines. Like all things Chinese, the developed countries of the West are turning isolationist. India is slowly but surely stepping into a leadership role here and displaying compassion, the kind of which has never been seen before. Look at what Bhutan's Prime Minister, Dr. Lotay Tshering, had to say. It is of unimaginable value when precious commodities are shared even before meeting your own needs, as opposed to giving out only after you have enough. Maldivian President Ibrahim Soli called India's vaccine consignment the most generous gift. Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli posted this. He said Nepal appreciates the gesture from a friendly neighbor. Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has also thanked India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Without India, there won't be enough vaccines to save the world. This is from the director of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. He said this as early as July. While the world blocked export of essential medicines, India supplied hydroxychloroquine, HCQ, remdesivir and paracetamol tablets. New Delhi also exported diagnostic kits, ventilators, masks, gloves and other medical supplies. India provided training to its neighborhood, and now India is saving the world with its vaccine. Because here is one thing that India believes in. Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, as we say. The world is one family.
Gravitas Plus, co-presented by Skoda. Simply clever.